Guess who's back? I'm back. I don't know if anyone cared, but I'm back in time for the playoffs. I was able to sit down and watch every single game to an extent and be able to properly give you a good analysis of each game and what happened, how the team's shaping up, and how the losing teams are shaping up, and just basically what had happened and how each player played and so on and so forth. I'm Andres. This is my football assessment. This is Andres' football assessment. I haven't done an episode in a while. I realized that. And I knew that if I came back, I would want to also cover everything that happened previous. But you know what? I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to go with, what's happening now. And this is what's happening now. And I need to get this out of the way so I'm able to do the divisional round. It's going to be simple, easy. I hope to do the same format. If any of you want to hear anything different, let me know. This time around, I'm not going to focus too much on statistics, and that's a huge problem that I faced, and I realized that not only should you just look at the numbers, not every time you look at the numbers, it doesn't really tell the full story, because that player could have had an amazing pass or an amazing play that really changed the game for his team that he didn't even have to contribute all that much. And that's one of the storylines that has happened this weekend. But I wanted to make sure I didn't do that. So we're going to jump right in. I want to change the scheme a bit. I wanted to tell you how each player looked, how each player felt out there, what I saw, what other people may have seen. I'll give a little bit of statistics here and there, and for the most part, I'm going to go down go over how each game went, what happened in the game, how it shaped up to be, and I'm just going to do that, okay? So here we go. First game of the wild card, we had the Bills versus Texans at Houston. And to be honest, my predictions for this game was that the Bills would win. I thought the Bills had the better talent. I thought they had the better spark. I felt like the Bills had a chance to shut out the Texans, to shut out Deshaun Watson, and they did in the first half. The Bills surprised on the first drive of the game. They surprised me, scoring in under 5 minutes with a Billy special, as Bleacher Report put it. John Brown did a jet sweep from the left side to the right, got the ball from Josh Allen, turned around, threw it to Josh Allen, and Josh Allen caught it for a touchdown. It was a very cool play. I loved it. I loved seeing it. I was blown away. But the fact of the matter is the Texans didn't answer back as well I thought they would. And this is when the defense came in. The Bills' defense performed really well in the first half, shutting out Deshaun Watson, shutting out their run game, even if they had one. They only have Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson, who I think aren't as good a tandem as I thought they would have been. I thought for sure that those running backs would be pretty good for the Texans, but apparently it didn't do as much. The Bills scored 2 more field goals in the second, and Josh Allen was performing well. He was driving down the field. He was throwing good passes. But here's the problem that I saw arise. He was throwing way too many passes, and he was dominating that Bills offense. There was no other identity other than Josh Allen, and that was a huge problem for me, and a problem for the Bills in that wild card game. The Bills jumped to a big lead by half of 13-0. They blew a 16-point lead at the start of the third. The Bills got a field goal, and then right after, the Texans clicked. Deshaun Watson brought back the Texans the third drive of the second half with a run of 20 yards for a touchdown. Not only that, but Deshaun runs in for the 2-point conversion attempt as well. So not only does he bring his team back with a spark of his own, he gets the 2-point conversion as well. So now the lead is cut down to 16-8. Then the Bills all of a sudden lose momentum. They crumble. The offense cannot perform anymore. Watson and the Texans take advantage and jump back in with 19 unanswered, and the Bills are now scrambling. They're wondering, what do we do? What do we do? Mind you, they have Devin Singletary and Frank Gore, who I think are a really good halfback tandem. I think Devin Singletary has been tearing it up in the offense for the past couple weeks, for this entire year, his rookie year. Devin Singletary has been a great running back for the Bills. I don't know why they didn't use him as much. He was only limited to, I think, under 15 carries, if I'm not mistaken. If I look it up right now, Devin Singletary was held to 13 carries for 58 yards. I honestly think they should have ran the ball more with him. And 2 other games we've seen 2 other teams run the ball a lot with their running backs, and that helped them win the game. The Bills were able to drive down the field on the last drive of the game for them, scoring a game-tying field goal and sending the game into overtime. Now, I expected the Bills to take advantage really quickly. The Texans' first drive ended in a punt, and I expected the Bills to drive down the field. They had a good play going. They got a first down, and then all of a sudden they just got stopped, and they had to punt. They punted the ball. They gave the Texans another shot, and this is when I saw Deshaun Watson just flat out play his best in the biggest pressure at home in overtime, needing to get the win and not get upset by the Buffalo Bills. And he did. Deshaun Watson takes the snap around the 50-yard line, almost gets sacked by 2 Bills players. The offensive line is way off to the right-hand side. 2 Bills players are right on him. They're right there. They're going to tackle him. And somehow Deshaun Watson evades the sack, rolls out to the right, checks down to Tywan Jones for his only reception of the game for 34 yards and sets up the game-winning field goal for the Texans, knocking out the Buffalo Bills with a 22-19 win. That, to me, proved that Deshaun Watson is not fazed. He is calm. He's collected. He's disciplined. He is ready for playoff football. And that's going to be huge for next week, because not only did they win, they're going to be facing the Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. There's great things for both sides. As I said, the Texans have a QB that is disciplined. He doesn't feel rushed, and they still survived against a pretty good Bills defense without Will Fuller. That whole game, Will Fuller was out with a groin injury, and Will Fuller is a huge part of their offense. From what we've heard, what we've seen, DeAndre Hopkins had a good game. Kenny Stills had a good game. The running backs, not so much. But they still were able to prevail without a good running game and without Will Fuller, which was a big question before the game. The Texans versus the Chiefs, setting up a pretty good matchup. We like both sides. We like the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. That defense isn't all too well. And I forgot. I almost forgot. Texans had J.J. Watt that game, and J.J. Watt had a very big impact on that game, and that really changed the tide for the Bills. Honestly, a lot of factors went in for the Texans to win, and the Bills just furthermore have a lot more to look at. But there's not a huge problem with the Bills. Sean McDermott is a great head coach. He's proven it. He's shown it. This season was their season. They've proven that they're a good team, and they're here to play now. Josh Allen didn't have that great of a rookie season, as all rookies probably have. Josh Allen is their only big identity on offense, which kind of tears them, because they need another star player. They can't just have Josh Allen and then the offense. They can't just have Josh Allen and average players. He needs a better cast. Devin Singletary and Frank Gore. Honestly, I would get another halfback to replace Frank Gore. He's not as serviceable as he could have been. And honestly, Devin Singletary looks like the halfback of the future for the Bills. He's going to be a great halfback. John Brown wasn't utilized as much in that game, although he did have a decent amount of receptions. I just think that they need to find another receiver to go along with John Brown and Cole Beasley that maybe can elevate them to a better level, or just a star wide receiver in general. I think Josh Allen just needs that one primary target, not just any target is my primary target. He needs that one primary target to look at every single time he looks down the field. Cole Beasley, he's a good slot receiver. I feel like he's a great receiver in possession catching and being possessive. I feel like Cole Beasley is very serviceable in that fact. John Brown, I feel like he's a really good deep threat. He's a really good route runner, and he's one of the best route runners you've seen in the NFL as of late. I just feel like this offseason, if maybe in the draft, if you can get Jerry Jeudy, I'm just spitballing here, all right? This is not going to happen. I feel like this is a very long shot chance of happening. But if Jerry Jeudy falls all the way down to the Bills' spot and they can pick him, I would. Jerry Jeudy is the perfect serviceable star receiver that you need on your offense, especially for the Bills. I feel like Josh Allen and Jerry Jeudy will have a field day out there next season. I feel like Jerry Jeudy would be Rookie of the Year next year if that happens. I feel like they'll have a grand old time. I think Jerry Jeudy will be a good wide receiver for the Bills. And the reason I'm saying they need a wide receiver and another identity on offense is just look at the... Again, I'm going to use stats. If you look back at the game itself, Josh Allen threw for over 264 yards. Pretty good. But 24 out of 46 passes. 46 pass attempts. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. Not only are you tiring out your quarterback, you're not trusting the run game, which has worked a lot of the times this year. The run game is pretty good, and you haven't used it. This is the same problem I had with the Titans a couple years ago, when after the 2017 playoffs, they didn't use Derrick Henry at all. Derrick Henry was a beast. He showed it in the playoffs. He destroyed multiple teams. And they didn't use him. They used Dion Lewis more than him. And then the next season, they corrected their wrongs. They used Derrick Henry more, and he proved that he's the best, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And he leads the NFL with the most rushing yards and 1,500 rushing yards. It's a pure fact. It's a great stat. I think Derrick Henry deserves it. He's an amazing running back, and no one has seen this. At least multiple people have, and then the Titans just went, we're not going to use him. Like, how? Why? Just the Bills, I would focus on using the run game more and getting that other receiver to help out Josh Allen. Everything else in the offense and defense is working. You have it. You have the scheme. You need to find a little bit more firepower. Okay? Moving on to the next wildcard game and the last game for the AFC wildcard. This was amazing. I predicted, as biased as I can be, the Titans to win against the Patriots. Now, my reasoning for it, I didn't feel like the Patriots offense would click. I feel like they were off all season. The defense would be overwhelmed by Derrick Henry, and I felt like the Titans offense honestly would shock the world, and Mike Vrabel would get his first playoff win as their head coach. Honestly. And it did. It happened. This game was something special for the fact of being the Titans are a huge underdog playing the Patriots with a number one defense in the regular season at Foxborough. This was huge. New England scored on their first drive with a field goal up 3-0. Then Titans drive down the field for 80 yards and score on a 3rd and 10. Tannehill throws to Anthony Firkser for the score, now up 7-3. And this pass, I'm absolutely amazed how he threw this. This pass was tough. Tannehill got the ball, dropped back, had immediate pressure, threw it. Anthony Firkser had some leverage on his defender. He was open, caught it, touchdown. It was a beautiful play. I loved it. I was cheering for Ryan Tannehill the whole time. I honestly love the fact that he's gotten a revival. His second, team in the NFL. I honestly feel like Ryan Tannehill deserves this. This is his second start. His second fresh start, I should say. That's what I meant. Honestly, I feel so happy for Tannehill this game. The next drive, New England storms back with a jet sweep to Julian Edelman for the 5-yard score, putting New England up again at 10-7. New England then in the middle of the second quarter were able to put up a field goal to put the game at 13-7. Now, at this point, you seem you see that the Patriots are kind of scoring on offense. They're finding ways on offense. And this would stop immediately. Because not only did they have no run game going, Tom Brady just was off target for a little while. He couldn't get passes in the right place. His receivers were not doing that well. His receivers were off. But Tennessee took advantage. With under 2 minutes to go, they drive down the field, 75 yards to score a touchdown. Two major plays that drive included one person and one person only, and that was Derrick Henry on his freaking birthday. Gets one reception for 22 yards and a run for 29 yards, combining for 51 yards. And then on first and goal, punches it in for the touchdown to get the lead at 14-13. This is their game plan. They went from passing with Ryan Tannehill, and they realized, now we can use Derrick Henry because we caught him off guard. Derrick Henry then turns on the Jets. 51 yards that drive, two major plays. Amazing. The Patriots tried to get a score up before the half, but the Hail Mary attempt was terrible, awful, it was off point. The whole second half of the game, there was no scoring, but it was super entertaining. I don't know how. Maybe it was the feel of the underdog upset that made it so entertaining that I was just rooting every time the Titans got on the field. I am very sorry for Patriots fans. I'm very sorry for New England fans, for Bostonians. I'm super sorry. But when you see a 9-7 6 seed face up against a 3rd seed, 12-4 New England Patriots, who have barely went in the wild card in their tenure with Tom Brady and have always survived at Foxborough, this was a game I wanted the Titans to win because this would be the biggest underdog upset in the new decade. I mean, think about that. That's insane. It was back and forth defensive battles, just inching up to enemy territory, just going into enemy territory. Come on, we need to get there. We need to get a field goal. We need to get a score up. The Patriots and Titans were going right neck and neck and neck. And it came down to a couple of last drives. It was under 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. And we see Mike Vrabel chewing the clock down, giving Bill Belichick a taste of his own medicine. It was beautiful to see that sequence play out because he knew the rules. He knew what he was doing. He had a great strategy on how to play down the clock. The Titans somehow get the ball back. They then chew the clock even more with Ryan Tannehill, icing. They punt the ball. Brett Kern, absolutely beautiful punt. This was picture perfect. Brett Kern punts it. It falls on the 20-yard line, and it rolls right up to the 1-yard line. The Titans pick it up. The Patriots are done. There's 15 seconds left. There's no literal way that Tom Brady could ever drive down the field, and I was right. I videotaped this. I videotaped my reaction. I'm not going to show it on YouTube or Spotify, but my reaction was absolute elation. I was so happy because the first play of that drive, Tom Brady threw an errant pass right in front of the defender. He tipped it up. Logan Ryan, the former Patriot, caught it, ran it in for the touchdown, sealing the win for the 9-7 Titans to topple the defending champions. That is a headline and a half. That is beautiful. The best part for the Titans, they are finally using Derrick Henry to his fullest potential. I'm very happy about that. He dominated for the Titans, had 34 carries, 182 yards, and a touchdown, and one reception for 22 yards, 204 scrimmage yards total. It was his birthday as well. You couldn't have asked for a better game than this. And the best part about it, Ryan Tannehill, for only 15 pass attempts, completed 8, 74 yards, 1 touchdown. He didn't have to do anything. Ryan Tannehill had to hand it off to Derrick Henry for the most part, and yet he was still needed. Ryan Tannehill was still needed. They needed a passer, and he delivered for them. Anthony Firkser, the first drive, he passed it to one of his receivers down the sideline for a beautiful catch to help them get another first down and chew the clock even more. Ryan Tannehill honestly looks a lot better than I've ever seen him. He looks so much better. And I'm super happy for the Titans, for Ryan Tannehill. I'm happy for everyone on that team. Here's the thing, though. But before we get to that, hang on. The Titans will play the best team overall in the NFL in the Ravens. I actually have serious doubts about them being able to upset both the Patriots and the Ravens. But then again, in the NFL, nothing is impossible. So maybe. I'm not completely throwing it out the window. I have serious doubts about it, but maybe. For the Patriots, there's a lot of storylines that will emerge from this. Where's Tom Brady going to go? What are they going to do if he leaves? How are they going to bolster the offense? Are they looking at a different QB for the future? Are they still a dynasty? All these questions are arising from 1,000,001 reporters, analysts, everyone, blowing up about this Patriots loss, saying, oh no, this is the end of Brady's career. Oh no, he's going to leave the Patriots. Oh no. Look, I get that the passing game and the running game for the Patriots all season have been awful, but at the same time, you never doubt Tom Brady and you never doubt his drive. He says he's willing to play football forever. Honestly, he said that he's willing to play football for a long time. He feels like he still has a lot to prove. He still has a lot of drive, a lot of energy, honestly, all for him. All for him. I'm not going to doubt anything that Tom Brady says or does. He's the best quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's the best quarterback, best player probably in NFL history. But the question arises that, is he going to leave? In my personal opinion, I would love to see him on a different team because it's just super interesting that he would leave Foxborough for another team. And the fact of the matter is, he stayed on that team and he took pay cuts in order for the Patriots to get better receivers, better running backs, better team overall. And that's helped them. But now he's saying he will not take a hometown discount and he'll go into free agency accepting other teams' offers. That's huge for other teams who are going to gun it for him. I know they will. I know there's going to be a lot of teams gunning for Tom Brady. There's going to be a lot of teams trying to get that legacy quarterback for his last year or 2 years to try and get a Super Bowl. I know there will be. The question of who, I don't know. But the fact that Bill Belichick might be leaning towards, you know what, we do need to get another quarterback, that's fine by me. Jarrett Stidham, the guy from Auburn, didn't do all too well from what I've seen in college. Based off his stats, I didn't see him play. But being biased, him under Tom Brady, him under Bill Belichick, him under the Patriots helm, I think Jarrett Stidham could be a good quarterback. We could see that. We could see Jarrett Stidham be the new face of the Patriots offense. We don't know. We just have to wait and see what Tom Brady and the Patriots do. Honestly, they're still a great team, with or without him. They're going to be a good team for years to come. I doubt they'll ever fall off the cliff. We did say that about the Golden State Warriors in the NBA, but now look at them. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. So I could be entirely wrong. Okay? And now we move on to Sunday's games with the NFC Wildcard. And the first Wildcard game, the Vikings versus the Saints. Oh, boy. Being biased and me being the... How would I put this? The risky prediction... Or the risky prediction... Me being the risky prediction artist that I am, I chose the Vikings. I chose the Vikings to win this game, and I just had to watch. I I watched this game from the beginning to end, and there was a lot of good things for the Vikings that a lot of people did not expect, and that's really good for the Vikings. And then a lot of bad things for the Saints that no one expected either. It's a lot of unexpected factors that happened in this game, and that's very huge. However, the game started off with a fumble by the Vikings, Adam Thielen, almost a minute into their first drive, allowing the Saints to take over and score 3 points. Now, the reason that the Saints scored 3 was a big part due to the fact of the Vikings D-line. The Vikings D-line forced Drew Brees to make some decisions in the moment to be able to close in on him and get the sack. I'm just saying that the defensive line had attacked early. They were ready early, and they were willing to stop at all costs. The Vikings have one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL. I believe the third best, if I'm not mistaken. Next drive, Minnesota does the same. They score 3 to keep the game close. However, the main reason they had to do that was because of a bad play call. They had Stephon Diggs try and throw a pass, but nothing was open, allowing the Saints to get a 6-yard sack. Next play, Kirk Cousins throws an incompletion, and he throws it to Alexander Madison for a 9-yard gain. Setting up the field goal for Dan Bailey. It's good, 3-3. Then we had good defensive stands by both teams. Both teams had really good defensive stands. There's a lot to favor about the running game in Minnesota. Dalvin Cook is definitely a reliable asset. The Vikings basically need him for the offense. And that's a good and bad thing. But the fact of the matter is the Vikings defense was doing really, really well. Up until the Saints got a big playoff by utilizing their Swiss Army knife, I like to call him that, in Taysom Hill. Now, I didn't know how well this guy threw until I saw him throw that pass to Deontay Harris for 50 yards. Now, given the fact it was very wide open and he threw it a little bit behind, I'm betting if Xavier Rhodes had one more step on him, that would have been tipped for an interception. I'm just saying. But good pass nonetheless for a quarterback that doesn't throw for the Saints as much and is utilized way more as a tight end, wide receiver, blocking type player than a quarterback. They set up the 1st and goal for an easy punch-in touchdown for Kamara, the first touchdown of the game. Saints have the lead 10-3. Then the Vikings drove down the field again, and mostly due to a good running game with Dalvin Cook, who on the first play of that drive ran for 22 yards off to the right side. The Vikings got down to the New Orleans 3, but ended up taking 3 due to inefficient plays. So it was 10-6, and then quickly afterwards, Drew Brees throws an errant pass down the field, gets intercepted by Anthony Harris, and he returns it 30 yards to the New Orleans 45-yard line. The Vikings had momentum. They had momentum now. Kirk Cousins got 2 big pass plays off to get the Vikings into good position, allowing Dalvin Cook easy breathing room for a 5-yard touchdown. They gained the lead at 13-10. Kirk Cousins surprisingly had really good plays up until the end of the second quarter. I feel like he was doing a little bit better than usual, like Monday Night Lights type game situation where he can't make a pass for his life. He's being pressured out of his mind. He can't do anything. But that was a different team. That was a very pass rush heavy team. This team is a very balanced defense, very balanced overall. And Kirk Cousins was able to get good pass plays in because the team was that balanced overall. They don't usually I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say they don't usually blitz, but they don't usually pressure a whole lot from what I've seen in that game. The Saints got close to scoring again before the half, but surprisingly, Will Lutz missed the kick just barely from 43 yards out. That kick was inching It was like inches away from hitting into the uprights. It just barely missed. And a lot of people would argue, if he made that field goal, they would have won the game. True, but also not true. You don't know what could happen if something happened earlier in the game. You don't know if the game would be played out better or worse. You don't know. Scoring-wise, yes, that would have changed the game forever. That would have helped the Saints win, for sure. 23-20, end of the game. But that wasn't the case. In the middle of the third, the Vikings got the ball, and one play caught my eye and the eyes of many. When Cousins threw up a pass to the right side to Adam Thielen, while getting hit, and completed it on target to Thielen down to the Saints 19. Now, given, I don't know if it was Lattimore in coverage, but the cornerback that was covering Thielen let go right before Thielen was able to catch it. I don't know why he did that. I don't know what he did to make him just stop. But the defensive back just gave up on the play. I don't know why. It looked like he just didn't care. I don't know. That's what I saw. That's what my perspective was. But a couple plays later, they're at the 1. Once again, Dalvin Cook punches it in for the score, giving the Vikings a 20-10 lead. All of the touchdowns so far this game for the Vikings, all Dalvin Cook. It got really intense after the Saints started the fourth quarter, scoring in 8 plays to once again Taysom Hill, but from this time, Drew Brees. Might I add that the entire game for the Saints was purely done by Taysom Hill? 50-yard pass to set up the touchdown, and now this 20-yard touchdown catch by Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was all over that field. He was the only... Well, no, he wasn't. Kamara was... Yeah. But Taysom Hill was heavily favored in that game. That was the only reason that kept him in that game. For whatever reason, it's the only thing that kept him in it. The Vikings would gain a bit of momentum, recovering a fumble by Drew Brees and chewing the clock as much as possible to keep the game in their hands. But unfortunately, Drew Brees drove down the field, set up a 49-yard field goal. Will Lutz redemption ties the game, 20-20, sent into overtime. For the most part, the Vikings' offense was clicking. They were doing things right. The defense was doing things right as well. They were doing really well at certain plays. They crumbled a couple plays. I saw that. But for the most part, the Vikings team overall has been playing well. The Saints, I saw that the offense was struggling a bit, partially the fact of Drew Brees. Drew Brees was the main reason why they lost momentum. The first time was due to an interception. The second time due to a fumble. Drew Brees wasn't himself, I would say. He wasn't as disciplined. He wasn't as calm. There's something wrong with Drew Brees this offseason, or this postseason, sorry. There's something off. I don't know if it's the thumb. I don't know if it's something like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Drew Brees wasn't himself, and that's coming, I don't know. The Vikings started overtime, and there wouldn't be a drive for the Saints because the Vikings had a couple of positive plays, setting them up at the Saints 45 with possibly the biggest play of the game by Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins unwinds a huge pass to Adam Thielen, once again, this time for 43 yards, setting the Vikings up to possibly win the game. 2 straight run plays, 1 positive, 1 negative, and then I think the perfect way to end the game for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins' next play drops back, immediately throws the ball up to the left side to Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph catches it, clearly caught, clearly in bounds, touchdown, end of overtime, 26-20, surprising upset. No one expected the Vikings to win. Everyone expected the Vikings to crumble. Everyone expected the Vikings to not be as good as they were midseason. A lot of things were said, but the Vikings proved them wrong. Kirk Cousins proved them wrong, primarily. Kirk Cousins, I feel like, had a huge game. He really proved that he can win in under very big situations. It's one of the biggest stadiums you could ever play in the NFL, especially away. If you win in that Superdome, you have to have had some kind of good game. Kirk Cousins did. By far, I think the Vikings if they just keep up the defense, they keep up the offense, if they're on a roll, if everyone's healthy, if everyone's on a roll, this team is nearly unstoppable. We've seen it in the midseason. We've seen it more than various times throughout the season. That Broncos game was very surprising, okay? They were down 20-0 at the half. Kirk Cousins came back and won that game. He was absolutely perfect. They scored on all 4 possessions of that second half in the Broncos game during the regular season. They won that game. Honestly, this Vikings team is very talented. They know what they're doing. Their offense is clicking. Their defense is holding up. This is a Vikings team that every team should fear. It's not bias. It's pure fact. We've seen it in the midseason, okay? Just because Kirk Cousins didn't win a Monday Night Football game or the last game because Sean Mannion was put in, it doesn't mean that this team isn't good. Under many circumstances, Kirk Cousins has been, proving the doubters right. 0-9 Monday Night Football. Then again, he proves them wrong. I would say for the Vikings, this is going to be a huge game. Not only do you face the best team in the NFC, but you face one of the top 3 defensive teams in the NFL in the 49ers. And they have also a pretty good offense. If the Vikings can stop George Kittle, if the Vikings can score on the 49ers defense, they're more than set for the NFC Championship. But the 49ers are then again talented. They're very good. They've proven time and time again they're a really good team. They put the Ravens at only 20 points when they faced them. 20-17 against the Ravens. That is very hard to do against the Ravens team who has been very explosive throughout the entire year. Good word of advice to the Vikings. Trust in Dalvin Cook. Trust in Kirk Cousins. If the defense plays as it did the last game, there will be a lot of positives. If the offense plays the same, there will be a lot of positives. Given they didn't even use Stephon Diggs that much. Stephon Diggs only had 2 receptions for 19 yards. Adam Thielen had 7 receptions for 129. If both Vikings receivers get it done, the 49ers are toast. As far as the Saints go, they've had a huge unlucky streak in the playoffs. I mean, they really can't seem to catch a break. 2017 gets knocked out due to the Minneapolis Miracle. 2018 gets knocked out due to a screw-over by the refs, due to a no-call pass interference against the Rams, and now this heartbreaking OT loss against the Minnesota Vikings at home. I mean, just wow. The big thing here is that they don't have to worry about any of the players. They have good firepower. Drew Brees is the only thing I'm considering they need to change. Teddy Bridgewater was really good when Drew Brees was injured. 6-1 in the 7 games that he started. Teddy Bridgewater looks like his old self. Teddy Bridgewater looks really sharp. He looks really good. The Saints shouldn't have to worry about a new QB if they keep Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe they need to adjust their game plans. Maybe they need to fix their schemes. But for me, I really see no problem with the players they have and what they can do. But I heard an interesting comment the other day saying maybe it's the head coach Sean Payton. In his 13 seasons with the Saints, only 1 Super Bowl to prove with Drew Brees. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's an argument. I wouldn't say it's Sean Payton because I see no problem with Sean Payton. The way that Sean Payton's been head coaching the Saints, the way that they've been doing with Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, that offense and defense has been spectacular. I feel like there's nothing wrong with Sean Payton and that coaching staff. I feel like there should be no changes. I think it's just luck. Their luck has run out. Maybe someone in New Orleans just did some bad voodoo and they're just cursed in the playoffs. I don't know. You tell me. The fact of the matter is they have a future, even without Drew Brees. This team can perform well with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. I would just suggest locking him down before it's too late. And now up to the last wild card game for that weekend. We had Seahawks versus Eagles. But before I even start detailing how the game went down, I wasn't able to watch the first half. I only could watch the second half, and even then I could see how low scoring and slow paced this game was. It wasn't an all too exciting game. It was more of like a struggle to get an edge type of game. And yet I feel like both teams were neck and neck until the very end. The Eagles punted all throughout the first quarter, only because I feel like Carson Wentz had a big impact on that factor. He got hit late, was concussed. Therefore, yet again, another Eagles backup would be taking over in the playoffs, meaning it would be all too sweet for the Eagles. I don't know if it's a curse too. The Eagles have had a bad history with Carson Wentz in the playoffs. He has never shown up practically. He had to have a backup play for him. The Eagles had to rely on the backup. It only worked 1 year. Both years fell. Spoiler alert. Sorry. The Seahawks had 2 field goal attempts in the first, only making 1. The first one was blocked by the defensive end, Finney Curry. Seahawks would keep it going, getting a rushing touchdown with the newly acquired beast mode, which, by the way, only had 6 attempts, 7 rushing yards. Travis Homer had a better game than him. Go, Travis. You are a good running back. Play like it. You know you're good. The offense seemed like it was getting places, but not truly getting through. I didn't get it. Russell Wilson, the passing game, it had been explosive from the beginning of the season near to the end of the season. Somehow, they just crumbled. Somehow, the passing game wasn't working. Russell Wilson wasn't his MVP status-like self. He isn't, throwing touchdowns on the regular. He's not explosive. Was Chris Carson that big of a factor? Was Chris Carson getting injured that big of a factor for the Seahawks to not perform as they did? But it was 10-3 at the half. And then the first drive of the third, the Eagles put up another 3 points. The Seahawks would follow right after with a 53-yard bomb from Wilson to Metcalf to put the game at 17-6. First reception for Metcalf, first touchdown for Russell Wilson, 53 yards. Eagles stormed back and put up a field goal to put the game at 17-9. And it seemed like this was going to be a good back and forth second half, right? I thought it was going to be pretty good. Wrong. There were no more scores after this. Josh McCown and the Eagles offense had many opportunities and missed on all. And the Seahawks should have put this game away, but just couldn't get anything else clicking on offense, and neither could the Eagles. I watched that fourth quarter myself. I was so heartbroken for McCown. He really couldn't score. Both drives the Eagles had in that quarter ended in turnover on downs, and it seemed they might have still gotten a chance. But Wilson to Metcalf again. In under 1 minute, around a minute left in the game, Wilson to Metcalf sealed the victory for the wildcard team, Seahawks. That was killer. For everyone in attendance and for everyone watching at home that was a fan of the Eagles, that was killer. I felt for them. That was really, really heartbreaking. Seeing Metcalf go up and get that ball, perfectly placed by Wilson, it was heartbreaking. Now look, this game felt like it should have been and would have been a complete shutout if the Seahawks had that explosive offense again. I've seen them do better with this team. Did Chris Carson really become such a liability that the offense can't do well without him? Did they really have to rely on him for the offense as a whole to do well? Or is there something wrong with the offensive scheme or the offensive play calling? I don't know what's going on. Russell Wilson used to be an amazing quarterback during the regular season. He was on pace to have his first MVP in his NFL tenure. It was going to be perfect. The Seahawks were going to go to the Super Bowl. 11-5. Seahawks still have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I feel like they can go to the Super Bowl. But it just seems like they're not clicking well on offense. Even Marshawn Lynch, they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch that much. Only 6 carries. That's kind of disrespectful for a guy that you wanted to bring back and is back for the playoffs and ready to play for you, but you won't utilize him more than at the 1 yard line. It seems like you're using him for the opposite reasons. Like, bad voodoo, 1 yard line, can't pass here, give it to Marshawn Lynch, can't do that again. Come on. If you have Marshawn Lynch, if he is really back, use him. Stop not trusting the run game. That is what you've been doing all year. Chris Carson had amazing numbers during the year because of it. Pete Carroll is a rush-minded head coach. He is a running back head coach. They face a Packers team who is great in passing defense, but not so great up front. The rush defense is only 16th, around 16th in the NFL. They need to do what Pete Carroll loves to do as a defensive-minded coach. Pound the rock. I don't care if it's Travis Homer or Marshawn Lynch or Turbin. They need to pound the rock. This is what they need to do if they want to go into NFC Championship and the Super Bowl regardless. You need to get that run game going. You need to trust it more. You need to trust Russell Wilson. Look what the Vikings did. Look what the Titans did, okay? You need to trust more in your offense, in your play calling. You need to trust more in the players you have. As for the Eagles, I honestly had really high hopes for you guys at the beginning of the season. I thought the free agency was amazing. You got really good key players. You traded away a couple of players for good, decent picks, for decent players. Deshaun Jackson was back. Everything was looking amazing, and everything crumbled. D-Jax, was he that big of a liability for the wide receivers to go, I can't catch a ball? Nelson Aguilar, God, I can't even remember some of these guys' names. Were they really that bad? Throughout the season, Carson Wentz had to struggle with this offense who couldn't catch his own passes. Carson Wentz tried so hard, and I feel so bad for the guy because he tried so hard in passing it to his receivers. Greg Ward, Deontay Burnett, none of his real receivers caught a ball. Dallas Goedert had the most receptions and yards with 7 receptions and 73 yards with Josh McCown. Boston Scott, who the hell is this guy? Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders didn't have that good of a game. 14 carries, 69 yards. I mean, that's pretty decent. The Eagles have a lot to work on this offseason. They did win the division. I wanted them to win a division. I saw them winning the division with a really good team. This is a very subpar team for what it's worth in a division that was super bad. Cowboys, talent-wise, should have won. Eagles, record-wise, won. They don't have a running back. The secondary gives up plays. The receivers aren't playing well. The team is heading into different directions than I thought it would. They need to get things right in the offseason, find a better scheme, get a couple of better players, and come back stronger. Because the Cowboys are going to be a little bit better with Jason Garrett not running that team to the ground. The Cowboys have Mike McCarthy now. You have to worry. Mike McCarthy is going to help Dak Prescott, help Ezekiel Elliott, help that defense become a championship-winning team. You better watch out. That team's going to come for you and that division, and you better not screw this up. This offseason, you need to reload. You have the team. You need to fix the scheme. You need to get better receivers. You need to find one halfback. You went through 6 halfbacks. I remember Jay Ajayi, Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. Who else? Who else am I forgetting? There was a lot of running backs you went through that not only did you underutilize, you went through so many that you couldn't concentrate on that running back in that scheme. You really went through that quickly. Just bring it, man. Come on, stick with one running back and move on. Get better receivers, move on. Overall, this wild card round was very fun to watch. Exciting to report on and just very surprising. I can't wait to see what the divisional round holds as we'll see 2 games on Saturday and Sunday. My predictions for the wild card before it even started. I didn't record this. I didn't write this down. I just made a mental note. I wanted the Bills to win. I wanted the Vikings to win. I wanted the Titans to win. And I wanted the Seahawks to win. That means I wanted all 4 wildcard spot teams to win. Only one of those predictions was off, and that was the Bills game. And I knew for sure, I had a feeling that after that every one of my predictions would have been wrong. But surprisingly, they were right. As for the divisional round, I'm letting it be known now. My predictions are the Ravens and Chiefs will win in the AFC. and the 49ers and Seahawks will prevail in the NFC. I want to go Vikings and be biased, but I also have to be realistic in saying that 2 wildcard teams will face off against each other and 2 bye teams will face off against each other. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, doesn't sound all too bad. For the NFL 100 Super Bowl, a wildcard team and a bye team facing off against each other, honestly, I would love to see the Vikings be in the Super Bowl. I would love to have seen that. I just don't know. I want to say Vikings. I want to go Vikings. But I have a hunch that the 49ers will dominate at home, Santa Clara. They'll just defeat the Vikings. They'll destroy the Seahawks. They'll move on to the Super Bowl. And we'll get the Super Bowl that we want, the 49ers and Ravens. Who knows? The rematch of the Harbaughs. But this time around, it's only Shanahan and Harbaugh. We'll see. We'll see how my predictions in these teams play out. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Please leave a like. Leave a comment of what you think. Leave predictions. Tell me if this format is better or if it's worse, if I'm doing a little bit better in what the feel of the game is rather than the statistical side of it, the analytical side of it. I want to get more feedback that will help me out, and it'll help you out too as listeners. I'll give more to you than take away from. I want to be able to give all aspects of the game, all aspects of everything. I want to be able to give the best product I can, and constructive criticism will help me do that. And that does it for the wild card episode for Andres' football assessment. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be doing my best in writing notes for the divisional round this weekend. I'll make sure I'll get it a lot sooner than Wednesday or Thursday. I'll probably get it done by Monday or Tuesday. I hope and pray. But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. See you next week.